These are the Brum Tech Scene interviews. I'm Stuart Langridge, and I'm here in Pure Bar and Kitchen with Ian Harrison, co-curator of TEDxBrum. Hello, Ian.
Hi.
So, for people who don't know, what's TEDxBrum and what's TED?
Okay, so TED is an international online-based phenomenon. It started as technology, education and design, so interesting speakers talking about technology, education and design, but it's expanded way beyond that. And they run a number of quite exclusive conferences every year that they film, and there's a very specific format of a maximum of 18 minutes to each talk, and the talks are lively, informal. The whole ethos is members of the audience with ideas worth sharing.
Okay.
And TED was such a phenomenon on the internet, so many people watch TED videos, that people began to ask, how do we do this locally? So TED now license TEDx events around the world, which are independently organised TED-style events, run by volunteers all around the world. So when you attend an event like TEDxBrum, nobody's been paid for putting that on. All the hard work has been done just because we think this is a good thing and we can add to the city. And TEDxBrum's now its third year.
Wow, so this is a group of people who just got together because you felt there ought to be one of these TEDx events in Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, the story's brilliant. A lady called Annika Diva and a group of friends got together probably about 4 years ago now, wondered why there wasn't a TEDx in Birmingham, did some asking around, found out nobody was particularly interested in running a TEDx in Birmingham, so they put one on. They filled the Mac Theatre at Cannon Hill Park, an audience of 100, which is your maximum in your first year. Trended on Twitter globally for 30 seconds, because part of our license requires us to put out a live feed on the day, so you can watch we have people watching all around the world. We then grew last year and filled the big cinema at Millennium Point, an audience of about 330, with a live feed party in Stourbridge, which was brilliant. And this year we've sort of stayed about the same number in terms of audience in the theatre, about 300, but we've moved from a cinema into a proper theatre in the Studio Theatre at the Library of Birmingham, which the library are kindly providing as sponsorship in kind, which is really good. So they've covered the cost for us of being there. Wow,
excellent. So each TEDx event has a theme, yes? What's the theme?
Yeah, so the theme this year is DIY. That's in part an answer to the biggest criticism that's ever levelled at the TED format, which is that TED is just a talking shop. And we sort of looked at that and said, actually, we want to hit that head on. And there's a level at which, if you're putting on a one-day event full of speakers, you're inevitably a talking shop. But we didn't set out to be the people who changed Birmingham. What we set out to do was put on a one-day event with really interesting speakers, talking about really interesting ideas, to inspire the people of Birmingham and the people who come to the event and the people who watch it online to go and do interesting stuff themselves. So DIY is almost a sort of, yes, this is just an event with speakers. Do it yourself. But it's also about the really exciting grassroots culture in Birmingham, where there are lots of people starting to do things themselves and trying to encourage that.
I mean, obviously, the reason I do these interviews, this whole video series, is about getting people in touch, so helping people find out that there's stuff going on they can get involved with, so on and so forth. A question. TED infamously has a secret attendees list, so only the magic anointed people get to go to full-scale TED events, and they won't release the list of people. Is TEDxBrum like that? Is there a secret list of invitees only?
As far as I know,
or can anyone go?
Even the TED events aren't like that. So it's true that, as I understand it, if you want to go to a TED event, you have to apply. and you have to tell them why you think you should have a seat in the audience, and it costs a lot of money, so you have to have that as well. No, but TEDx events are much more about bringing it to people, and there is a cost. I mean, we would love to put on an event like this and say first 300 people who apply for tickets get in. The reality of the world is that everything has a cost, and in many ways our ticket price is the lowest we can do it given the sponsorship we've had locally. And the event couldn't happen even at the price we put it on at, which I think this year is £40, without the kind generosity of a lot of partners in the city who are providing us with things in kind or cash towards the cost.
So what are you hoping to achieve? What are the big picture goals for Birmingham by putting this event on?
So I'm a bit nervous about big picture goals for Birmingham. What we're aiming to do is to provide a day which excites and stimulates people who are looking for ideas, who are playing with ideas. We hope that we can bring people together. So an important part of TED events is the breaks. There was a wonderful moment last year where I came down out of the theatre into the lobby of the cinema at Millennium Point, and there were 5 little groups of people stood around the lobby, and in the middle of each group was a speaker. And that's what TED's about. It's about different speakers will appeal to different people. They'll trigger questions and thoughts and conversations. So what we want to do is be a catalyst for those conversations. What happens next is sort of we haven't got ideas about what people should go and do. We just believe that if you can inspire people, they will go and do interesting stuff that matters to them.
But anyone who's been to a whole bunch of conferences will tell you the most interesting thing is always the hallway track, where you watch a speaker or a bunch of speakers, and then you come out fired up with ideas, and then you stand there with a beer in your hand afterwards and say, but what about this and this and this, and start putting together ideas and relationships and so on and so forth. So when you say the theme is DIY, what does that mean?
That means that we've put together a lineup of speakers who we hope will inspire people to go and do it themselves. So we don't know what it is, and to be honest, it might sound a bit careless, but I sort of don't care what it is.
As long as there isn't it.
Yeah, because we're not here to set the agenda for the city. We're here to stimulate the people who can create an agenda in the city, and get that buzzing and get those conversations started. And one of the wonderful things about a TED lineup is how eclectic it is. So it brings people from all sorts of different sectors, and they start making connections between things that they wouldn't otherwise, because they've never seen those two things on the same stage.
That's an interesting point. So you have an eclectic lineup, and you don't have to name all the speakers. People can look at the website. But how did you go about choosing speakers to invite to speak at TED?
So my role in TEDxBrum is, I think, one of the most privileged, because I'm the only one who gets to the day having heard all 15 talks before the day. And I've heard some of them in preparation already, and they are really exciting. But last year, what I noticed was every speaker had somebody say, almost every speaker had somebody come to me and say, they were my favourite. And almost every speaker had somebody come and say, I'm not sure about that. So that sort of says we've got it right. And that's how it's going to be this year. We have a guy who drove a taxi around the world, holds the he and his friends hold the 2 world records, one for the longest ever taxi drive. They did this for charity, and one for the highest ever taxi drive, because during their drive they drove a black cab to Everest Base Camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was one chap driving and the other chap was presumably paying the fare to drive all around the world?
Somewhere on their website they actually tell you what the fare should have been, because part of the rule for the Guinness Book of Records was that the meter was running all the time. On the other hand, we have a consultant haematologist who's going to be talking about blood transfusion technology. We have people talking about how, as individuals, we can begin to reform government, education, tech. It's a really broad lineup. And if I can, my most favourite thing about being at a TEDx event is to sit and listen to these speakers, and even having heard all of them before, when you hear them in succession, just to start making connections, and it's unpredictable, and even having heard them before, it's unpredictable, and that's the stuff that the potential for great things comes from, is those really unexpected connections that emerge out of the day for people.
You're looking to inspire people. So if someone wants to be inspired, if they want to be part of this, where should they go to find out more about the event and buy a ticket?
Okay, so they should go to TEDxBrum.org. They'll have to be quick. There's only about 20 tickets left.
And that's at the time we record this, to be clear, which is not necessarily the time it goes out.
Well, maybe too late by the time this goes out.
When is the event itself?
The event is on November the 8th at the Library of Birmingham in the Studio Theatre. Runs from, I think doors open about 9 o'clock. The event itself runs from 10 till 6:30. We also will have a live feed going out, so we'll be releasing details of how to log into the live feed. So if somebody can't get a ticket, they can actually watch the whole event live online. And we know there's at least one group of people getting together for a live feed party in Telford to watch, and based on previous years, we expect there will be people tuning in from all around the world.
And are videos of the individual talks being released later as well?
Yes. So all part of our license requirements are that we video them all. They're all submitted to TED, so each speaker has the opportunity to be considered to be put onto TED.com, which for a speaker is a big deal, because that's a lot of hits on your video. But even without that, we load them all onto the TEDx YouTube channel.
Excellent. So 2 questions which aren't particularly to do with TED, but that I ask everybody. The first one is, I'm doing a series of these interviews. Who else is there in Birmingham doing something interesting who you think I should talk to?
So depending on how wide you go with tech, Rick Robinson, who will be one of our speakers. Rick works for IBM and runs their Smarter Cities agenda. His title on the 8th will be From Concrete to Telepathy, Building Cities as If People Matter. Okay. IBM are doing telepathy now, aren't they? We'll wait and see what it is.
I look forward to that talk.
I'm going to promote another one of our speakers, Lee Pennell, who's the guy who drove the taxi around the world. Is just about to release a revolutionary battery from which you can recharge your mobile phone.
And my final question, specifically to you, what's your favourite biscuit?
Probably a chocolate digestive.
A chocolate digestive, excellent. So, thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Ian Harrison of TEDxBrum.